And we can now just settle down into the breath. Inhale, exhale, wash pastel hues of light through the body, through the energy system. Opalescent and aquamarine rays washing down over the body, building into your sphere. And as we open the sphere to engage with solar light, solar geometry, and solar floral imagery, the solar reshas appear within your sphere. Solar Christ feminine consciousness washing through the body, energizing with bliss charged love. Just allow this to build into your light body and just feel it moving all the way down through the chakra system. High flows of joy, excitement, and bliss. And as we expand with this energy, the landscape of New York City appears before us. Inhale, exhale. And we connect into the New York City grid. And align frequencies through locations of the Twin Towers and the World Trade Center. Allowing the solar Resha bliss charged love consciousness to wash into the SRA terrorist locations of the assault. Full light wash into the chaos. And through this viewpoint, we see organic light architecture rebuilding into the time of September 11th, seeding Christos feminine currents to rebuild the space-time, time-space continuums, and repair the timeline from which was the Armageddon timeline transition. We focus the love, focus the light into repairing the Armageddon software. Okay. So as we watch into this, we've got the aquamarine ray, aquamarine geometry, lifting up the debris and restoring what was fragmented, the fragmented mind and death culture or a death. It's like death culture. It's not really death culture. That yuki and that aurora. A death event. More call it that. A terrorist attack. That akia kratiyan mo the bodias no kia kura. And we just start to feed and seed and feed the awareness of source back into the juncture that akia na akia kratiyan mo the bodias no kia kura. And as the source current comes back in, this then builds an awareness of a black spherical net imprinted with Black Widow spider imagery. And then deepening into this imagery, there is satanic inversions, and then satanic hierarchies or demonic hierarchies that are also enmeshed through this location. So as we observe and delineate and anchor the solar frequency, the solar Christ frequency back into the node, multiple sets of metallic coding begins to reset and the field begins to spin. Inhale, exhale, allow the light to wash through. Na okia kara mata bodias na kia kara dora. Okay. And layer by layer, as the field spins, solar Christ light moves through. This starts to unlock the lower, more compact layers where consciousness has been fragmented, split, and created like black electrical wave spectrums that are impacting the collective mind and also through this timeline. Let's just work into neutralizing na agia kratia na okura sha agia kratia. Deep prayers and intentions of salvation. Of the fragmented essence, which subsequently, through the fragmentation, we've also got a seeding of digressed consciousness that can twist and distort the race mind, the collective mind. So through this awareness, let's just step back into the heart. Inhale up through the feet. Open mouth breath. Lifting the architecture and resurrecting the timeline, the organic timeline, which creates I want to say like a kind of detachment. It holds an organic structure within it, and then it starts to separate out the inorganic matter from that from using that trauma as a kind of an altar point for the dark to sit upon it. Okay, and then this is just allowing grief to transit through the body, allowing the collective grief, the misery, and the souls that had undergone and moved through this ritual, allow them to be seen. Lifting out any confusion, any amnesia. Okay, let's release, revoke, rescind oaths, vows, agreements with the Adam Belial group or entity structure. Those that continue to wreak havoc and attempt to cause damage and degradation to the planetary grids. We do not consent, release, revoke, and rescind. Placing full commitment to God in this moment, to Solar Christ, masculine and feminine. Inhale, exhale as the Christ parent structures set in to parent the planetary field and grid and collective range, opening if Buddhic lotus fields, which is also a connector point into the Buddhic mind as well, which is like an 11th dimensional kind of layer of the Christos triad. And just starting to anchor that down into the grid here. So the Buddhic lotus, which is like to me, it's coming forwards as a crystalline, pale, pastel blue, see-through lotus flower that's very, very expansive and has imprints of Buddha and the masculine and feminine lower expressions of Buddha as well. Na Akya Karate Amoto Buddha, so also like Tara, Avalokitesvara, which radiate peace, compassion, serenity to uphold into the grid and into this timeline as the counterforce to chaos to balance polarity and move through polarity integration. Okay, let's come up to the seventh dimensional planetary logos field. And this is coming through as a violet wave spectrum. And then within that violet wave spectrum, there are multiple black kind of knots within the wave spectrum, which has now turned into a grid. And we just want to highlight this infiltration point. And as we connect into the solar Buddhic layers, we're going to bring this and connect it back into the grid. And then extend it all the way back to the Albion ley line and the United Kingdom, which hosts as a kind of the control panel or the brain of the planetary logos field. Okay. So pulling back this insert of the Buddhic mind, placing it and inserting it or connecting it in to the control panel, if you will, and just allowing the system to update, the energy to update. Inhale, exhale, feel all of the backside of the chakra system unlock here. And high amounts of anxiety rewire itself. Open mouth breaths to allow the full transit of light to pass through the energy system as it corrects and updates, recodes the planet and the personal. Awakening of the crown, opalescent light rays surface and run through your energy system. Kundalini to Kundalini, da akya kratya mataboriyas na akya kratya na akura shunu yamotaboriyas na akya kratya. Do yukia na akya kratya na akya kratya mataboriyas na akya kratya da ya u. Inhale. Golden trine of the solar, triple solar feminine emerges through the planetary field, through the planetary logos layers, and then through the personal gate system as we access into the darker depths of the fields, the kind of the contorted, the distorted, the kind of psychosis imprints caused through the chaos. And we're just going to sit with the essence of triple solar feminine, anchoring into these layers of psychosis, into the layers of disturbed mind and belief systems. So heavily, heavily, heavily reversed. And you may also find the link point between these kind of global chaos timelines or global chaos events linking back into your own um, personal, individualized world shattering and breaking apart, whether it is going into a dark night of the soul, whether it is going into a kind of chaotic, catastrophized event um, through your early years of life. This has just been highlighted to me, so we can kind of just start to draw the dots on a personal and global transition where we can link the similar energies of destruction, whether you have kind of, or one has kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Broke down your social circle in order to go through deep rebirth, or broke down your kind of habitual behavioral patterns where it has resulted in kind of a chaotic outcome in order to go through a rebirth process. There's been a link drawn to me between these two things now. So I'll leave that as it is for you guys to kind of draw your own conclusions to. So we work with the solar Christ, triple solar feminine Christ. Inhale, exhale, allow the trine of the triple feminine to spin and raise the frequency into beauty and grace, changing the belief systems and the mind of the psychosis, of the trepidation, deep fear, to find the light at the end of the tunnel within these layers of trauma. There is always a choice to transform the belief systems. There is always a choice to change the perspective. And we're going to take that through into the negative ego attribute of the personality and then into the collective mind. Okay, so it's the destructive influence within your own personal world that was mirroring the destructive influence of the 9/11 trigger event, the chaos event. So they're running as a parallel, effectively. Makes more sense now. And through these trigger events, we're just going to start to seed in unconditional love, source connection, source awareness, and just allowing the light of source to come in and flip the storyline, flip the narrative. And as this comes up, we've got controller archetypes that are being purged and brought to the surface here. Let's go into the controller archetypes. Let's go into the aggressor. These can be quite locked out if we haven't kind of looked at these levels of destruction in our own worlds. And with the initiate point of the awareness of it coming up, we're just going to go into acceptance. Acceptance of this energy, acceptance of the control, acceptance of the anger, the frustrations that we all have, we all harbor. But usually we see them and then we run away from them because they're scary or because we don't want to admit these kind of layers to ourselves as well. So, what would happen if we were to just accept them for as they are? Well, the first thing I've just heard with that is we'd never get anything done. But I challenge that belief system that we'd never get anything done or achieved if we just accept them, because sometimes they just need to be seen. And it's through seeing we then get to transmute. Okay, so through seeing, it's then presented pain. Pain overlaid on top as a driving force for control, a driving force for anger or angry control in order to kind of restrict the pain levels coming towards the individual or whoever is kind of experiencing this. And when we can isolate out the pain and just start to neutralize with bliss, neutralize with safety, it feels injustice, it feels mistreated, and then it goes, the reasons beyond that would then lead into projection. Okay. So let's go deeper into that controller archetype. And let's start to pull up memories around when we've personally been controlling, personally been kind of forceful or trying to steer something in a particular direction. We've all done it. And admitting it to ourselves is the first way that we can transform it. It's because we are sit in our truth. We're within the truth. And as these memories start to surface, or even if you can't remember exactly, we can intend for the aspects to step forwards here. And we're just going to nurture and love them unconditionally. We're going to listen to them, just allow them to speak. And the kind of the fastest way to get an answer out of them is if you are intending for them to communicate with you, and you do that by focusing your love into these aspects as if you're beating the same heart. And focusing in that love, this should then relay back an emotional feeling or visual of the controller within your childhood. So we can understand the narrative behind the controller archetype as the child within childhood, and how that relays to who you are within this memory, and then how it's restricted and been repressed to where you are today. Which then reflects to the projection externally of negative controller archetypes within the world stage. So as we kind of sync up and link the different things together, how the consciousness that manifests in the group field or the world stage is a representation of our own energy, that once we love it unconditionally, it begins to dissolve and fade away, and they lose their power because you're loving it and pulling yourself back together. So let's extend that love into ourselves and into that timeline and into the depths of psychosis, into the depths of trauma, into the depths of fear, control, and narratives. Allow the geometries to reset. The solar Christ feminine now merging into a divine mother archetypal image, which is an opalescent lotus format of Tara, but is on a cosmic level and called Eleza, Eleza Sun. And then around Eleza Sun, we've got all of these other female goddesses coming to the forefront and imprinting into the timeline, into the psychosis to bridge love, bliss, joy, beauty, and grace back into the world. And updating the planetary architecture, updating your own personal body, reconnection to the divine feminine. Let's update through all fields, update through all localized grids, just reintegrate any soul essence through time and space that's been kind of locked out and knotted. We also want to run a soul rescue through this timeline, dissolving out any black goo. NET net technology, dissolve and disintegrate na Yamatopuria sana kia kerajana akura. Allowing the softness of the feminine to step forwards and really blossom the higher love synthesis back into this timeline to repair fully. Let's inhale, exhale, update through all fields, update through all localized grids, move to seal forward through all levels and layers of light, through all bodies, and through the breath of the divine I am presence and the divine feminine. Inhale, exhale with deepest gratitude. Thank you all so much. Lots of love.